The buyer broker exclusive employment agreement is another document that I require every client to sign in order to work with me. And when I say everyone, I mean everyone. I have made my husband sign this every single time we have purchased a property. I made my in-laws sign this. Everybody is required to sign this document to work with me. It's at the top, your names go here, my brokerage goes here, my name goes here. It has the date that it starts and then the date that it would expire. I typically have these run about 6 months. We can negotiate that. We can discuss if you want shorter or not, but 6 months for me is standard. Whatever you're purchasing, I don't do commercial, so this box would never be checked, but if it's residential or land, we would check that box. If it's both, then we check that box as well. The agency relationship, so this is the form, the real estate agency disclosure and election form, which I've outlined in another document. That box would be checked here because that's also a required document to sign. I personally never take a retainer fee, so this would always say 0. I would put shall be credited against other compensation because that's just something like you can't really credit 0, but whatever. We have to check one of these boxes. Property viewings. So this is super, super, super important. And I have another video on new home, like new builds, and explaining why it's important that you take an agent with you. You take me with you every single time you visit a new home community. And it's vitally important that you do that. It's not an inconvenience to me, but if you do not take me with you when you go visit models, you will lose your right to representation. Builders are super strict about this. And I would hate for you to purchase a property and then have to pay me rather than the builder pay me because you signed this document and I wasn't with you. It's part of my job to do it. It's not an inconvenience. So please make sure that if you go visit a new home community, you take me with you. You let me know in advance so that I can, if I can't go with you or whatever, we figure it out. But we make sure that you are registered with that builder and that I am your agent so that you don't lose your right to representation. Otherwise, you're completely on your own. There's nothing I can do if things go sideways, and things go sideways with builders all the time. So this is in bold. If the broker does not accompany the buyer on the first visit to any property, including a model home, new home, lot, or quote open house held by a builder, seller, or other real estate broker, buyer acknowledges that the builder, seller, or seller's broker may refuse to compensate the broker, which will eliminate any credit against the compensation owed by the buyer to the broker. So this also applies to new homes as well. To open houses as well. Just don't go visit a property without me. My job is to take you and show properties. If you go see a property and I am not with you, this document will be enforced because you've hired me to do a job. And so let me do my job. The due diligence. So again, this is part of the buyer advisory. I outline all of that in a separate video, what you need to know about due diligence period and any information, any investigations that you want to do on a property. Again, as I outlined in the real estate agency disclosure and election document, it comes up again here. The buyer acknowledges that pursuant to Arizona law, sellers, leaseors, and brokers are not obligated to disclose that a property has been the site of a natural death, suicide, homicide, or any other crime classified as a felony, owned or occupied by a person with HIV or diagnosed as having AIDS or any disease not known to be transmitted through common occupancy of real estate, and 3, located in the vicinity of a sex offender. So this comes up multiple times in different documents. It's very important that you understand that these are things that the seller in Arizona does not have to disclose. And if it's super important to you, then there are other investigative means to figure out if you get the answer to the question on these things. Buyer agrees to consult the Arizona Department of Real Estate Buyer Advisory, again outlined in a separate video. And then here the compensation to compensate the broker as follows. This is typically, depending on the property, my standard rate is 3%. So if for whatever reason the seller is choosing to compensate me less than 3%, it would be your responsibility to make up the difference there. We will discuss that prior to you writing an offer so that you're well aware going in that there might be a shortfall in commission for me, and we will discuss how to approach that in a way that makes sense for everybody. the buyer agrees to pay such compensation if within 30 days of calendar days after the termination of this agreement, so if I show you a property, this section right here, 34 to 37 means if I show you a property and you end up saying that you want to terminate this agreement with me and you decide to use another agent, if it's within the 30 days of me showing you that of the termination of this agreement. So I show you a property, let's say it's May 15th, you terminate May 31st, and you end up writing an offer on the property that I showed you on June 15th, you would still owe me a commission because I was the one that showed you that property first. I was the one that took you there. I was the one that walked you through. I was the one that did the original showings on the property. So I would be owed a commission on that property. Now, if you waited until after June 30th, which would be after the 30 calendar days from termination of the agreement, then you wouldn't owe me anything. Your new agent would get paid on that particular property. So just something to keep in mind. I don't ever fill out additional terms and here. These are just other things that are important. So equal housing opportunity. I'm required by state and federal law and by by the National Association of Realtors and our ethics standards to abide by any equal housing laws. So it doesn't matter to me. Like, if you want to see a property, regardless of where it is, as long as it's within your budget, I will show you the property. There again, as I outlined in the real estate agency disclosure and election form, there might be a time where I have other buyers that are also looking at certain properties. If that's the case, I will let everybody know so everybody's on the same page that I do have other clients looking at the same property. If you choose, if something goes wrong and there's we're in a massive dispute and we end up having to go to to mediation, then the alternative dispute resolution is mediation here. Any attorney fees and costs and any non-realtor association proceeding to enforce the compensation due to buyer or due to broker pursuant to this agreement, the prevailing party shall be awarded their reasonable attorney's fees. So if I end up winning the arbitration, you would pay me my attorney's fees. If you win, I would have to reimburse you for your attorney's fees. The Arizona law, this agreement shall be governed by Arizona law, and jurisdiction is exclusively confirmed to the state of Arizona. Copies and counterparts are basically if one person signs this document and I have another person who signed the same document, but the signatures aren't on the same page. If I have multiple documents with signatures with everybody's names on them, they would count that as a fully executed document. This entire agreement and any addenda and attachments shall constitute the entire agreement between the buyer and the broker and shall supersede any other written oral agreements between the buyer and the broker. So basically this is essentially a contract. This is what you use to hire me to exclusively represent you. It's a loyalty agreement. I'm taking you on. I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can. And, I expect loyalty from my clients that they're only going to work with me. If we have to change it, if commission is reduced, then we would do an addendum to this to reduce commission if that's the case. And then basically everybody who signs this, we're all entering into the same contract together.